How we doing on this wet and wild Thursday, Vol Nation? This is Frank Rock. This is the House of Orange Sports Channel coming at you. Hope you guys are staying safe, staying dry out there. Today, fall ball. Fall ball for the Tennessee Vols baseball team actually started yesterday, September 25th. Not sure there's a whole lot of action going on today, but I've kind of looked at the team, looked at what's going on here, and I've narrowed this down to 5 storylines that I'm looking at as Tennessee goes into fall ball. Tennessee goes into the 2025 season looking to repeat as national champions. Pretty cool to hear that. But make sure you hit that thumbs up, you share, you subscribe, and if you have not already, turn on those notifications. Also, if you've subscribed, not turned them on. Thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you so much. As we did hit 2,000 on here, we're on the road to 3,000 now. So let's get in this one. Broke it down into 5 storylines that I'm watching going into fall ball as Tennessee lost, quite a few big-time contributors from this team last year. You look at it, they lost their entire weekend rotation. They lost their closer in Aaron Combs. You lost Burke. You lost Moore. You lost Amick. You lost Dreiling. You lost Tears. I mean, you've lost numerous guys. Cal Stark. Numerous guys who were big-time contributors who contributed to this national championship last year. Cannell, Xander Sechrist. I mean, I could go on about this. So now it's time for the next unit to step up. And what do? First topic I want to get into is who wants to start? Who wants to start in that weekend rotation for Tennessee? You lost the whole rotation. To me, there's not a set-in-stone guy who's going to take over in the rotation. And here's the thing about Tennessee, the last 2 years specifically, they have not, I would venture to go 3 years because I'll go with that one in a minute. The last 2 years, though, the way they've started off the year, now last year was kind of a little bit out of their hands. A.J. Russell was the Friday night guy. He certainly looked the part against Texas Tech. Second game, he started feeling it a little bit, got injured. He was basically done for the season. He'd come back on a couple of occasions. It didn't go as hoped. Out for the season, had some surgery. He should be good to go in February. So he's not going to be a factor in fall ball. He'll be a factor, I think, around, based on the time frame, I'm thinking April. I'm thinking around April, sometime around SEC play, maybe a little later. Will he be able to start, or is he going to be a guy that comes out of the bullpen? That's what I'm interested to see on him. I think knowing how Tony Vitello, Frank Anderson works, or what I've seen on how they work, they're not going to rush him back and risk hurting him again. They're going to make sure he's good to go before they push it. We've seen that before with numerous guys coming in off of Tommy John and stuff like that. But A.J. Russell, I don't foresee him being a factor here in fall ball. But here's who I do think is a factor as far as returners. Nate Snead, what is his role going to be? He's the big wild card to me. Does he move to that rotation? Because Tony Vitello's comments last year indicated to me Snead wanted to start. And does he take advantage of that opportunity? I would not be surprised to see them give him that opportunity to work his way into the starting rotation. As far as returners I see, Roy, I mean, some of those weekday guys, does a J.J. Garcia and Austin Hundley, a Brady Robertson, or somebody like that maybe take an opportunity and run with it? Or are they more midweek guys? Again, I think those guys are dudes. I can see Garcia a little bit more on the weekend. Garcia's got to fix the control issues, which he good outings last year. He would have a little bit of control. These other guys, man, it's really crap or get off the pot time for some of them, to be honest with you. They're going to get passed up. And I'm going to tell you why here in a minute, because there's an influx of talent coming in. What about Dylan Lloyd? Could Dylan Lloyd possibly go into that starting rotation next year? He's an interesting one to me. Roy come on, had some good outings at the end of the year. What is his role going to be as we move forward here as well? I think Andrew Banky, I think he's a bullpen guy. I think he'll serve more as a back-end guy. Again, I mentioned Brady Robertson, Austin Hundley, Loy. You've got Luke Payne as a guy, and Braden Sharp as a guy coming off of injury as well. Some of these guys, it's going to be interesting to see where they fit in that rotation. But for me, the 3 guys I'm looking at returning starters, or possible returning starters: Nate Snead, AJ Russell, which we're not going to know about for a pretty good while, and Dylan Lloyd. That's the three that I'm interested to see here as well. Now, here's the thing. Tennessee signed 6 JuCo guys. They brought in 2 transfers. So they brought in Brandon Arvidson. Here's who I think are the actual candidates for that starting rotation. Brandon Arvidson, JuCo guy, had pitched at Texas A&M. Possibly Thomas Crabtree. Liam Doyle, transferred from Ole Miss. I think he's got to be a strong candidate for it. I've seen Michael Sharman mentioned. He's a JuCo guy, lefty, possible candidate. And then here's what you've got to factor in. And make no mistake about this. This is an influx of talent Tennessee has not seen come in. Tennessee's adding 8 pitchers from the high school ranks. 7 of them were ranked top 350 or higher, according to perfectgame.com. I don't see Ant Siebert. If what they're saying about him injured, I don't know if he's a factor this year. We'll wait and see on that. Tegan Coons is the guy I'm watching. Perfectgame.com's got him 45th. I think everybody who follows it thought this dude was probably going to sign and not make it to campus. He did make it to campus. He's 45th overall. I think this to me is the guy to watch for that Friday night roster spot. I've seen people ask on different websites, well, who's going to be starters? And it's the lazy answers. It's, well, I see Nate Snead, Liam Doyle, and a bullpen guy. That's the lazy answer I keep seeing out there. I can assure you this right now. This freshman group of Coons 45th, Krenzel 81st, Strickland 161, Smart 183, Hayes 234, Dumont 350. Okay, I don't know how all these guys projects, but some of them's going to project as starters. I can guarantee you these freshmen are coming in. They've been at it since June. They've been with Coach Eberhardt since June. They've been working out. They've been on their nutrition plans. These guys are putting into work. They're coming in hungry. They're not just coming in to watch Nate Snead and Liam Doyle and Dylan Lloyd and these JuCo guys pitch while they're just going to sit back and watch and maybe pitch on the weekday. Nope. These guys are coming in hungry to pitch, to help, and to take over. Tennessee has not had an ace in 4 years since Chad Dallas. Why do I say that? I'm going to go into detail on it. 2022, you had Chase Burns most of the year. At the end of the year, they decided to pull Chase Burns out of the rotation. Tidwell took it back over. But let's face it, would Blade Tidwell been the ace? Absolutely so. Blade Tidwell was hurt that year. He come back out. He had his moments, but I didn't think he really had it. His last start, Notre Dame lit him up. They absolutely lit him up. The next year, you think you've got it in place with Dolander, Burns, and Beam coming back. Dolander got moved back to Saturday. He's Colorado's top prospect. Now, Dolander can pitch. He did not pitch well his last year at Tennessee. He had his moments. Overall, no, he did not pitch like an ace. That's why he was moved to Saturday. Burns was demoted, and Burns hit the trail. Drew Beam, he was a Sunday guy. He pitched like it. He was pretty good at the end of the year. Drew Beam really was your guy come postseason. And then they moved Andrew Lindsay into that Friday night role in 2023. They made it to the College World Series. But at the end of the year, Lindsay, man, he was not getting past the 3rd and 4th inning. He was not that true ace that they needed. This year, it was set up for A.J. Russell. A.J. Russell got hurt. They had to adjust. They kept Beam on Saturday. They kept Xander Sechrist. They stuck with him. It paid off at the end of the year. He was your go-to guy at the end of the year, but they kept the rotation it was. They went to A.J. Causey on Friday, and they went to the California guy. I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head here. Left-hander came from California. That was your guys this year. I'm totally drawing a blank on that right now. I apologize for that. But there was not a true ace this year. You had guys, though, that got the job done. This year, my main candidates to be that Friday night ace. Could it be Snead? I'm interested to see that one. Doyle, maybe. I'm interested to see Arvidson. I think he's got something to add. Tegan Coons is going to have a say-so in it. I'm not sure on Krenzel if he's where he projects here as well. Strickland and Hayes, I would watch out for those guys as well. That's kind of the ones I know a little more about as we go along with it. But I would almost make this guarantee to you. It ain't going to be Snead, Doyle, bullpen. I'll bet you money. I'll bet you whatever on here. It ain't going to be that again. One of these freshmen, if not multiple, will be in that starting rotation this year. Bank on it and see. You heard it here first. Question number 2, though. With a good pitching staff, you need that good catcher. Last year, it was Cannon Peebles' job. Does he step up this year? It was his job from the get-go last year. He didn't get it done. Cal Stark come in. Cal Stark was hitting a little bit. Cal Stark's management of the pitching staff, Cal Stark's defensive abilities got him back in that lineup. He never looked back. How many of these games did Cal Stark fire that team up? How many of those games did he win with his defense last year? That pick off at first. Numerous times that team needed that boost. Cal Stark came through with it last year. Does Cannon Peebles this year understand, hey, I don't step up. I got Stone Lawless behind me, and I got a pretty damn highly ranked catcher coming in by the name of Levi Clark. Levi Clark could factor in numerous places. Now, I don't know where his catching ability is at right now. From what I've gathered, the bat is there, though. It's a hard bat. It's going to be a hard bat to keep out of the lineup, and we'll talk about that here in just a moment as well. Does Cannon Peebles run with this job? And I got to think it'll be a case. We'll see Stone Lawless a bit this year as well. He's a prospect that they thought a lot of last year. He was afforded that opportunity to redshirt. Of course, you got Charlie Taylor. As far as I know, Charlie Taylor was a redshirt junior. I'm trying to see. I don't actually see him listed on the roster on utsports.com. So it makes me wonder, did he choose to move on, or is he still with the team? I know he was listed last year as a redshirt junior. So I would say this, if he's not playing, he's somewhere on this staff. Kirby Cannell, they're going to be around in some way, shape, or form. Does Cannon Peebles run with that? They spoke highly of how he developed as a catcher. Does his bat come to life? He was brought in for his bat last year, and they worked with the catcher. Josh Elander gets him going. Josh Elander is a fantastic catching coach. We've seen it each year with the catchers. There's not a year that I look and I question the actual catching play. Now, did we question the bats of some? Sure. But as far as actually able to handle it, I mean, you had Connor Pavoloni. Evan Russell stepped up. I thought Evan Russell did a fantastic job catching. I really did. Cal Stark, excellent catcher, the bat. But, Cal Stark he would come up big sometimes. Now it's Cannon Peebles' turn. If Cannon Peebles doesn't get it done, to Stone Lawless step up here. Again, the question mark to me is, can Levi Clark, how good is he as a catcher? And that's going to bring me to my next point here. This guy, to me, he was brought in for his offensive abilities, but where does he go play? Where does Andrew Fisher factor in here? These next 2 questions, including this one, 3 and 4, are the ones that I'm curious about. Where does Andrew Fisher play? To me, Dean Curley's your third baseman next year. Until proven otherwise, I'm going with Dean Curley at third. You guys, if you've listened to my baseball stuff, you know where I'm going at shortstop on this. You know where I'm going. I'll go in group 3 and 4 together. Does Ariel Antigua's bat come alive? If it does, he's your shortstop. All right. I don't know on the freshman. I know Manny Marin is supposed to be really good. I know Abernathy is supposed to be really good as well. How do they compare to Ariel Antigua, though? If you've seen Ariel Antigua play, the times we saw him play last year, he was excellent. He saved a run in that College World Series championship game. He saved a run when they put him as a defensive replacement in 8th inning. Saved a one in the hole. He made it fairly close at first, but he kept that runner at second base. That gets into the outfield. Based on Dylan Dryling's arm, there's a good chance that runner scores, and that's a different ball game. We're possibly tied in the 9th inning. That defensive play is so underrated, does not get enough credit for it. To me, Ariel Antigua's bat, if it's there, and supposedly it was in fall ball last year, he got injured, never got it going after that. If the bat comes to life, if he stays healthy moving forward, You can't tell me there's better shortstop on this roster, at least not from the returners and not from the transfers. That's nothing against Keelan, Curley, or any of these dudes. Ariel Antigua is just that good at shortstop. Now I'll go back to Andrew Fisher. So if I've got Keelan at second, I've got Antigua at short, I got Curley at third. That leaves one of two plays, really one of three. Fisher didn't come here to DH. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that one off. That makes it to me, Fisher is either going to play first base or he plays the outfield. One of the two. Some way, shape, or form, he's going to be in the lineup, and he's not going to DH. He's just not. It's like Billy Amick. Billy Amick didn't come to Tennessee to DH last year. He came to Tennessee to play third base. It'll be the same with Fisher. It's a matter of where does he fit in there. That first base is wide open, but you're going to have, does Fisher factor in? I mean, if they did put Fisher at third, Dean Curley can play first base. Dean Curley can play the outfield. To me, Dean Curley's your third baseman, though. Does Fisher play first? A guy Tony Vitello mentioned last year, we didn't see him much. He's still with the program. This to me is a candidate to be one of those guys who steps up this year's Alex Perry. Tony Vitello mentioned his name numerous times last year. A guy they talked about, played summer ball, stayed with the roster too, come in as a shortstop, or he's listed at he can play around. Blake Grimmer, does he factor in? You got to factor in, where does Dalton Bargo come in? Levi Clark, I've mentioned him already. He can play catcher, he can play first, and I'm thinking he can play outfield if I'm not. I may be wrong on that one, but if his bat is as good as I've heard, or as good as you read about the scouting reports and you go about, that bat's going to be hard to keep out of lineup. Maybe he DHs for a little bit. I don't know. But I think that's a guy, if he hits the way I think he's going to hit, Levi Clark's going to be somewhere in that lineup. So, looking at that, again, could it be Bargo? Possibly. Who else could possibly factor in? They brought in Eric Radicek, or were going to sign him from Niagara. He ended up getting, of course, drafted to the Marlins. And then question 5, who wants those corner outfield spots? Who wants them? Is it Fisher? Is it? I'm just naming possible options here. So, and I'm not saying any of these guys. Obviously, the leader for me is Reese Chapman. Reese Chapman had a pretty good summer in the Cape Cod League. I think he takes that step. He showed signs of it last year. It's putting it together consistently for him. To me, I think your main two candidates are Reese Chapman and Andrew Fisher. That's where I think Tennessee goes outfield-wise. But here's who else I could see. If Fisher plays third, Curley's going to be somewhere. He's going to be somewhere in here. Could it be Bargo? Possibly. Could it be Abernathy? Seems a good enough athlete to me that he could possibly move to the outfield. Could be wrong on that one. All right, could be wrong on that one. But 5'10", 170, I think there's a possibility with that. He reminds me a little bit, to an extent, of a guy Tennessee had signed the same year as Christian Moore, was drafted by Tampa, and he's playing the outfield now because I saw him play a summer. Ryan Spikes was a pretty highly thought of prospect. He was listed as an infielder. He's now playing the outfield for Tampa due to his speed. Pretty good ball player, it looks like, for Tampa Bay. I think he's down in maybe high A right now. Not sure if he's gotten moved up or not. But could Abernathy be like that, and where he possibly moves to the outfield? I mean, that one will be interesting. Arnold Abernathy, that is. Jackson Walker from Lenoir City, played at Loudon High School, 94th. Can he factor in to that outfield rotation as well? Some of these recruits coming in, these are some of the highest rated recruits in Tennessee's program history. This recruiting class is the highest in Tennessee's program history. If you think these freshmen are coming in to watch these guys that's been there, you're sadly mistaken. They're coming in to make a difference. There will be numerous guys who are vital contributors to this roster this year. You just mark my word on it and wait and see. Fall ball, I've said it. I've been saying it from the get-go. This is going to be a knockdown drag-out with all these pitchers gunning for these roster spot or for these rotation spots. Who's going to carve out their niche in the bullpen? Numerous positions, to me, wide open. I think we've got a pretty good indication on some of them, but it's going to be awesome. I'd love to be there to see it. Cannot wait to hear reports on that. again, make sure you like, you share, you subscribe. Make sure you check out the content as well. Any other content, football, released a basketball video last night as well. If you want to help support the channel, there are the super thanks, there are the memberships, there is the Patreon as well. You guys stay dry, stay safe. It may get bad up in this part of the country. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it doesn't. Frank Rock, House of Orange Sports Channel. Last but most certainly not least, go Vols.